So let's recall first what we had on the action research. I have here a question on what can I investigate through action research? So I think you're also asking yourselves, what can I investigate in an action research? So I have here some. Action research investigates everyday problems experienced by teachers. All you need is a general idea that something might be improved. I experience a problem when some of my educational values are negated in my practice. So I think it boils down to the idea that you have a problem. But is it necessary that you will have a problem to do an action research? How about if you have an existing program that is good already? Is there no need to conduct an action research? For me, I think we can also do an action research on that. It may be for the betterment of our practice. We can challenge the status quo. Here are starting points that might be considered in our action researches. It's like, I want to get better at my science or mathematics teaching. I'm not sure why my students don't engage in discussion. I've seen something working well in school A. I wonder if if it would work for me. Is there something I can do about the poor performance of my students in science or mathematics? It is important to choose an area that you can do something about. Some questions are not amenable to action researches. Or here are some of the questions that cannot be used in action researches. 1. Is there any relationship between parental support and students' performance in mathematics? 2. Are tall children better in science? 3. Does gender affect learners' performance in mathematics? Looking at these questions, we can see that there is no action because in an action research, you need to have an action. Action becomes part of the research itself. It should be the planned change that is implemented, monitored, and analyzed. So in looking into your research questions later, you need to have an action to be undertaken. Here are some golden rules for selecting a topic. Keep it manageable. Keep the focus small scale. It should be interesting to you. You may need some perseverance to see the inquiry thorough. It should be workable. You are not stumped for ideas, but can identify ways in which you might have a go at addressing your question. It is not too disruptive of normal routines. Consider others who might be affected of your inquiry. So it should be manageable, interesting, workable, and not too disruptive. Here are some sources of research problems that was tackled. We start with the basic education research agenda. And then you could also look into your experiences and practices in the classroom. Some problems in the school. You could also look into your school improvement plan. Also in your learning action cell sessions. You can also look into the performance indicators of your school report card. So I think those are good sources of research topics and problems. So looking into the basic education research agenda, so there are 4 themes that you could work on: the teaching and learning, child protection, human resource development, and governance. But as teachers, I think we go with the teaching and learning. But we could also include disaster risk reduction management, inclusive education, and gender and development. This is from DepEd Order number 39, Series 2016. In DepEd Order number 43, Series 2015, we're looking into the Basic Education Research Fund. So I think you will be happy if you will be funded for your researches. No? So it's not more than 30,000 per research. So as a school teacher, you can do an action research that would improve the teaching and learning and school governance. And then you can look into the matters arising from the school improvement plan and the learning action cell sessions that require further investigation. And you're given a maximum of 6 months based on the DepEd order to finish your action research. In identifying problems, you could make use of the fishbone diagram. Here, you will have the problem. So you have here the cause and then the effect. You can look into the equipment, the process, the people, materials, environment, and management. So I can give you an example. Example, as a mathematics teacher, my problem is that the students are not performing well in solving algebra word problems. So I can look into the students. I can look into their reading comprehension, their anxiety, their attitude, their motivation, and also their intelligence. I could also look into the administrators, their leadership and supervision skills. I could also look into the community or the stakeholders, maybe in terms of support, leadership, and assistance. I could also look into the teachers, the teaching strategies, their attitude, their competence, their dedication, their teaching loads, and even the seminars and trainings they attended. I could also look into the parents, their parental support, their guidance and monitoring. I could also look into the peers, your friends, the motivation, tutorial, support, and the peer pressure. So with that, I think you will have a very rich problem looking into the different causes. You could also have a problem 3. For example, students are getting low in mathematics, no, their grades. So here, students don't understand multiplication meaning. So you could look into the cause. Maybe poor mathematics teaching at the elementary school, or teachers are not ready to teach with different methods. So you can look into teachers don't know different methods knowledge, teachers don't have wide curriculum and contents, teachers don't know Japanese teaching approach, and then teachers don't know how to develop multiplication content. With this, you can look into a possible solution to the problem. That's why you can have an opportunity 3. With that, what is your desired outcome? You can look into the opportunity. The outcome, example, the outcome is to increase the performance of the students in mathematics. So therefore, what are the different opportunities that you have? In those opportunities, you can look for solutions. And in those solutions, you can try to do an experiment, no? To test whether it's really effective or not. Here are some ways in justifying the research problem. 1, is the problem current and timely? 2, is it pervasive or widespread? Does it affect a group of people such as students, teachers, and etc.? Does it relate to recent trends and ongoing programs like K-12? Does it relate to broad social, economic, and health issues like COVID-19 pandemic? What are its direct or indirect, short and long-range contributions to the welfare of a group of people or to the whole society? Now, I have here a question on what is flexible learning, but we will have first sample problems that we have in mind. I want you to go to www.menti.com, and then the code is on the screen that you can use. Okay, you go to www.menti.com. Flexible learning provides opportunities to improve the student learning experience through flexibility in time, pace, place. It could be physical, virtual, on campus, or off campus. And then the mode of study could be print-based, face-to-face, or blended and online. So we have print-based by our module. If ever applicable already, you can have blended, a little of face-to-face and online. Or you can have full online if possible. And then teaching approach, it could be collaborative or independent. And then forms of assessment and staffing. It may utilize a wide range of media environments, learning spaces, and technologies for learning and teaching. We need to know first the dimensions of flexibility so that we know where we will be coming from. First is when and where the learning occurs. Second, what and how students will learn. Third, how to deliver instruction. What strategies could be used? What type of learning resources will be used? What technologies to use? When and how to provide assessment and evaluation? What kind of support and services needed? These are some of those that we need to consider in our flexible learning environment. And this could be good springboard for our action research. Aside from that, we have here a detailed graphic illustration of the flexible learning dimensions. So you could look also of the time element in terms of the assessment. You could also look into the content, the delivery, the pedagogy, the resources, and the support. So you could also look into this in deciding your action research problems. We have two terms now, the synchronous and asynchronous learning. So for the synchronous learning, it is learning that involves a group of students engaging in learning at the same time. So at one time, you are meeting together online. And then for asynchronous learning, it's a student-centered learning method using online resources to facilitate information outside the constraints of time and place among people. So you can do it at your own time. So you could have in synchronous learning, conduct instant messaging, live chats, and video conferencing for real-time learning. So at one time, all of you are there present online, virtually. And then for asynchronous learning, it's interacting with the course management systems or communicating using email, posting in discussion forums, and reading articles. So you do it alone. So here are some of the synchronous learning activities that we have. We can have live webinars, instant messaging, video conferencing, and virtual classrooms. For our asynchronous learning, you can have email, blogs, pre-recorded video lessons, and then online discussion boards. Also our learning management systems, even our Google Classroom. At present, we are into modular learning. So we are developing and designing modules for our learners. So these are also things that we need to consider in our action research problems. Aside from that, we also have radio and TV-based instruction. So this could also be a possible avenue for our action researches. We also have remote learning. We can also look into the different apps that we have that we are using online and even offline. So we can have remote learning. Remote learning is more on the teaching and learning happens not on the classroom, but also it could be at home. So we are not physically present in the classroom. We also have blended learning. It could be a mixture of online and face-to-face or modular. But at present, we can have a difficulty in the blended learning because face-to-face is really not encouraged. So for our action researches, we could have a study on the flexible learning strategies. You can have you can look into the best strategies that can be used now. You could also look into the tools, which of those will be effective, even strategies for student engagement. Because now, I think we will have a difficulty in engaging the students, especially that we don't have it face to face. So how can we motivate our learners to be independent in the learning process? Because it's on their own. Also, you could also look into designing student-centered assessment. So you could also look into the assessment at present. What action researches can be done? Also, designing materials for our classes, especially it's flexible learning. So there's a need for development of materials. That could also be one of the things that we can consider in our action researches. But I have here some think aloud questions that we could look into to deepen our look on our action researches. One is, am I comfortable in delivering classes in a flexible learning environment? Can I easily prepare learning activities for flexible learning? Do I have enough resources for my classes in the flexible learning environment? What motivational activities will result to heightened student engagement? How do I develop the 21st century skills of learners in the flexible learning environment? What flexible learning modality works best for the learners? What online application will be the most useful in delivering online classes? And then this one is how to avoid copying or plagiarism or plagiarizing in a flexible learning environment. This is a very good study to look into. So here's the challenge. Use action research to be flexible about your methods. So now that we are into the pandemic, we can make use of action research to innovate and be creative on how we deliver our instruction, even in our assessment. So we will be having an activity. It will be Jamboard. I'll be sharing the link later, but I'll just give the instruction first. Okay, you will be given slides there, and then you just choose one slide. I think it could be two persons in one slide, and then you just have to write your name, and then you identify a problem. Uh, I suggest it will be related to flexible learning. And then you identify also an intervention or an innovation or an action to maybe solve the problem or to address the problem. And then think of research question or questions that could answer our research problems. And then a possible working title. Don't worry if there are still things to be looked into. This is just for us to maybe benchmark on how to do things. Don't worry if it's not really that organized because we still have critiquing later on your output. So I'll be giving you the link already. Don't worry with this. I'll show this again. So here's an example. This is not on flexible learning. So I have here the problem. My problem as a mathematics teacher is the poor performance of learners in mathematics. So my intervention as I read literature, I can utilize the metacognitive strategies in teaching mathematics. It's a strategy that could go beyond the cognitive level. You could also have the reflective side. And then I have here my research question. Number one is, what is the performance of mathematics learners before and after they were taught with metacognitive strategies? And then the second is there a significant difference in the performance of mathematics learners before and after they were taught with metacognitive strategies? So my intervention here in the poor performance of learners in maybe grade 10 mathematics is I will be using metacognitive strategies like think, pair, share, reflection sheets, something like that. Think alouds. And then with that, here's my working title for my action research, enhancing the performance of mathematics learners through metacognitive strategies. This is not on the flexible learning, but your challenge is to make one for a present now. So it's on flexible learning.